What's up YouTube, Crystal here, and today I want to be talking about all three specs of the Mage in pre-patch. I know everyone didn't get into the beta, neither did I, and that's why I'm going to be making this video so I can relate to you guys and show you actual footage of the pre-patch and not the beta, because the beta is an entirely different thing. So I'm going to be showing you a direct comparison between all three specs of the Mage's burst in the upcoming video. I hope you guys maybe learn something and you guys take these tips and tricks and try them out for yourself, and maybe you can get the same results I did. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thanks. Alright, starting off we have the Fire Mage. Probably the most played spec in the pre-patch right now and in beta. But yeah, this is what I find to give the most burst for the Fire Mage. Pyromaniac, Incanter Slow, Flame On, Unstable Magic, and Meteor. Why I choose Incanter Slow over Rune of Power is because one of the strengths that Fire Mage has over every other spec is the mobility. The other two, Arcane and Frost, are very sit and cast specs, and that's kind of their weakness, but also their strength with Rune of Power. But Incanter Slow allows you to move and not be limited to just casting Fireball or stuff like that. So, Flame On, Unstable Magic, and Meteor. I'm choosing Unstable Magic because the GCD for the Living Bomb is actually a really kind of a buzzkill when you're going for the massive burst and just really need to do damage right now. Living Bomb seems to slow everything down with the GCD, and I know that doesn't sound like a lot of time, but when you're trying to get on the rhythm of Fire Blast, Pyroblast, Fire Blast, Pyroblast, it's a long time. So, without further ado, I'm going to show you how to burst as hard as you can with the Fire Mage. So what you need to do is you need to morph, and then you're going to drop a Meteor over top of them. Once you drop the morph into the Meteor, you start casting Fireball, use the combustion, and yeah. So I still had another Fire Blast into a Pyroblast, and I mean, he died well before I could do that, and I still had breath, and yeah, so it was a lot of damage and not a lot of time, but it does take it doesn't take any setup. It's literally just at a drop, at a moment's notice, drop of a hat, you start doing damage instantly, and that's a really strong aspect of a Fire Mage, is the fact that it requires no setup, and I can go from 0 to 100 in a blink of an eye. And that's really the strength of the Fire Mage, and because I can keep going on the move, I don't have to stop and cast, and stuff like that, where the Frost Mage and Arcane Mage are going to be forced to sit and cast because they have the lack of mobility. Yeah, Shimmer does give the ability to blink while casting, and it does give them a little bit mobility, but it really doesn't let you actually move and cast, kind of like the Fire Mage does with just the instance and basically never having to cast unless you just really need that extra oomph to secure the kill. So yeah, that's the Fire Mage right now, and it probably takes around 5 to 6 seconds, I think, to get from to go through the full rotation of the burst. And yeah, so let's just jump into the next spec to see how long that takes. Alright, so for the Mage spec, we're going to be getting into Bone Chilling, Rune of Power, Ice Nova, Unstable Magic again, and then Glacial Spike. So this spec, out of all three specs, requires the most setup versus the other two, mainly because of this ability right here. So it conjures a massive spike of ice and merges your current icicles into it. See, that alone right there is what some people will look over. So icicles is your mastery. Whenever you damage an enemy, you have X amount of damage. That damage is stored into an icicle for 1 minute. So depending on how strong your default frost bolts are is ultimately going to be how hard your glacial spike is going to hit. So if I were to have just a general glacial spike with no pet and stuff like that, I'm just going to cast it, no Rune of Power, no nothing. It's going to do about 66% health left, so it's going to do about 33%, 32%. But yeah, so that's not a huge amount, but what is going to happen is we're going to be pairing it up with this Ice Nova, and what that's going to do is going to freeze the target, and it's going to do, that alone does like 26% of health, and what that does, it's going to root the target, enabling the Glacial Spike to do a shatter, and multiplies the critical strike of your spells against the frozen target, and adds an additional 50% crit chance. So this is what we're going to be wanting to do, is we're going to be wanting to get these super high icicles with our Frostbolt. So we're going to be wanting to keep the target frozen for as long as possible, getting these really crucial Frostbolts off so we can get these really good icicles going. And then what we're going to be wanting to do is we're going to pair up these really strong icicles with the Ice Nova, so the Glacial Spike can get the shatter combo, and we're going to be dropping Rune of Power with this. So all of that damage that we've gotten so far is going to be increased by 50%. So, and this is what this looks like. So we're going to go ahead and morph him, put it into a Rune of Power, start hard casting Glacial Spike, pair it up with the Ice Nova, and that's almost a one-shot. And then you can pair that up with a non-procced Ice Lance, and that's going to finish him off. And this is a very, very instantaneous, massive damage for the Glacial Spike and an Ice Nova. It almost one-shotted that person. And where the fire, you had to have the constant rhythm of the Pyroblast, Fireblast, Pyroblast, Fireblast, Flame on, Fireblast, Pyroblast. And it requires a lot more buttons and a lot faster gameplay, but this is a very precise, instant amount of massive damage. Now, this does require a lot of setup, and that can be hard to do in a 3v3 or a 2v2 scenario, and even in a duel with a 1v1. But ultimately, that's the best burst that you're probably going to get, and you can probably pair it up with, you know, your Fingers of Frost procs, which is your Ice Lance, and then with your Brain Freeze proc of Flurry and stuff like that. And you can get the you can throw out a Frozen Orb to make sure you're generating Fingers of Frost before. It doesn't really matter. And with your Pet's Freeze, you're going to be granted one stack of Fingers of Frost or for every target you hit. Max of 2. So yeah, that's Frost, and it does require a lot of setup. And you did notice that I was standing in place the entire time casting these Frostbolts in, and that's where Fire actually has the edge over the other two specs. But that's Frost Burst, and it was really massive. So let's jump into the next one. Alright, so for Arcane, this is this is a very stationary class, but with the implement of Displacement and the Shimmer ability, you're probably more mobile than Frost right now. So I would have to say the mobility goes with the Fire, Arcane, Frost, and you can take it how you want it, basically with what would be more valuable in certain scenarios. So against melee, obviously Fire would probably be better because you're going to be having to move a lot. No.
He did not. He needed to do that.
But since we're fighting a stationary target that's not fighting back, this is basically just to show you the sheer damage that Arcane can do, minus the mobility and stuff like that. So this is basically the spec for my Arcane Mage is Presence of Mind, Rune of Power, Charged Up, Erosion, and Arcane Orb. So how this is going to work is we're going to be able to instantly grant 4 Arcane Charges, which is going to reduce the build-up time of this class drastically. So if I were to cast Arcane Blast 4 times, that's 1.8, that's like 2 seconds, that's 8 seconds, reducing 8 seconds for the build-up time. Instantly just go into 4 charges, and we're going to pair that up with Presence of Mind and Rune of Power. So how this is going to start off, I'm going to open up with a Polymorph, make sure he's at full health, and then I'm going to go into a Rune of Power. I'm going to hit Arcane Power, Charged Up, start casting, hard casting an Arcane Blast, Presence of Mind double cast Arcane Blast into an Arcane Barrage. If you do get procs of Arcane Missiles, they are going to slow down your burst, but they are going to offer you more damage. So if you really just need to secure that kill right now, it'd probably be better if you just went for the Arcane Barrage and saved your Arcane Missiles maybe for the next go. Throw out your Arcane Orb, maybe generate another stack of Arcane Missiles, and then start going in from there. Now, Erosion is an interesting mechanic because every time you're going to be doing damage to this person, they're going to be taking 1% additional damage, 1% extra damage, sorry. And it's going to stack up 8 times, which paired up with the 50% of Rune of Power is going to be 58% extra damage, and it's going to be really, really, really good. So, without further ado, I'm going to get this started. Just like that. I didn't even have to dump my Arcane Barrage. What happened here? So Arcane Blast hit for... Arcane Blast hit for 129, and then 98k with a 33k overkill. So that's basically another 120k, 130k plus 120k is 250k, and that is his maximum health. So yeah, and I still had, so let me just show you the damage that I would have been throwing out there. So it would have been another like 83k. He would have a higher erosion, and I only had 3 charges of Arcane Charge. So you get the gist of just how massive these numbers are from Arcane. Like, yes, it is very just one ability class, spec I should say, just Arcane Blast, Arcane Missiles, and Arcane Barrage, but it offers one of the quickest bursts of these 3 specs, and you can take it how you want to, but Frost and Arcane are actually offering the highest amount of damage in the lowest amount of time, from the beginning to the end, from initial damage to the end of the duel or the death of the target, where I had to cast multiple Pyroblasts, I think 5 or 6 Pyroblasts, and initially I only had to cast 2 Arcane Blasts. So you can really kind of let this example kind of like morph your opinions about how Fire has become the most powerful mage spec in beta and pre-patch right now, and kind of think about it. And yes, it might be the most mobile and might offer an instantaneous amount of damage, but if you're good enough or if you're precise enough, you can get these like full polymorphs off on the healer or your target when they have no defensive. You can put in this Rune of Power, get that Arcane Power up, and really just attack at the right time. And my philosophy is, it doesn't matter about how much damage you do, it's about it's about when and where you can do that damage. So you might be out damaged by, like, say, a really cleave comp like Turbo Cleave or something like that. But if I were to just take my one burst into a full stun and just totally destroy the healer and only do a 1/4 of the damage that, like, say, the Enhancement Shaman was doing or the Arms Warrior was doing, it doesn't matter because I secured that kill in that very well-placed damage. That's a wrap for today, guys. I really hope you enjoyed the video and maybe even learned something. If you liked my video and want to see some more of my content, go ahead and subscribe to me because I will be releasing more videos when Legion actually releases. If you have any questions or suggestions, go ahead and leave a comment below. And if you liked the video, give it a big thumbs up. Show some love. Till next time, guys. Peace!